Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Self-Ruled. I am your host, Hannah Holden, and today we're going to be talking about how to transform your feelings of scarcity. Now, I want to start off by saying that this can show up a couple of different ways. It can be actual scarcity. Maybe you're down to the last $100 in your account, last $20 in your account. It just depends on where you're at. Or maybe it's perceived scarcity. Something in your environment triggers you to think about the possibility that you either don't have enough, may not have enough in the future, something like that. So whether it is actual scarcity, perceived scarcity, I just want to say that both can feel very real. Both feel very real when you're overcome with the stress, the anxiety, the fear of not having enough. And this is just part of being human. We are wired to want to make sure that we've collected adequate resources for ourselves for our survival. So when we either don't have enough or we perceive that it's possible we could run out, those can be very triggering. So I want to extend compassion and empathy if you're in that state of mind right now. However, this episode is really going to be about where you do have power in these situations. If you feel like you can't control your finances right now, what do you have control and power over? And that is really yourself. So today I'm going to go into 5 different strategies to help transform that scarcity feeling. So the first one I want to talk about is to choose your words and story carefully. So let's start with the words. If you routinely use words like broke, poor, debt, not enough, running out, any of those words or phrases that are tied to scarcity, saying those over and over is just going to reaffirm it to yourself and to the universe that that's the case. The story aspect is, a story is what you tell yourself or other people about your situation. So there may be the facts in your life. So maybe the fact is that you have less money today than you did yesterday, or maybe the fact is you're waiting on a check that hasn't come, that you're expecting. Maybe those are the facts. But the story is what you tell yourself about those facts to yourself or other people. So you really want to be mindful here of going around to people and telling these stories that emphasize that you don't have enough, because the more you tell those stories, the more you use those words and phrases, the more you're going to believe it and the more you're going to feel fear and anxiety. So instead, you want to be very careful not to say those things out loud. Instead, you want to try to reframe those in a positive light. Could be something like, giving yourself affirmations. I have enough. More is on the way. I am trusting more will come, really playing with what those affirmations may be. But if you aren't there yet where you feel like you could come up with the positive affirmations, at the bare minimum, refrain from saying the negative stories out loud to people or to yourself. And this is so human because we're stressed. What do we want to do? We want to call someone up, commiserate with them, tell them our struggle, our stress, our fears, talk about the rising prices of things. But a lot of times that just creates more energy for us in the wrong direction, and it doesn't leave us feeling any better. It really tanks our mental health when we're in these tough situations. The next one I want to talk about is practice selective listening when others are speaking of scarcity. Our ears are very sensitive. If we are constantly around other people who are pointing out scarcity, pointing out not enoughness, pointing out rising prices, these are the things that they talk about regularly, it is very hard to not be impacted by that. Now, you can build the muscle, you can practice kind of having that wall, that energetic wall up around people, but you want to be really careful what you're letting in, because it's going to feed your subconscious and it's going to affect your thoughts, and it is going to affect your reality. That's what I'll tell you. So practice selective listening, and if that means that you need to distance yourself or set boundaries with people, then you can do that. I remember I had this friend a handful of years ago. We weren't very close, and I ended up ending the friendship for a handful of reasons, but I remember when I used to spend time with her, she was one of those people that often spoke about what she didn't have, being worried about money. And I think this was in 2020. I had just started my business, so I was taking on more risk. I had more uncertainty than ever around money. And so when I would spend time with her, not only would she talk about her fears and insecurities about not having enough, not being able to make enough money, but then she would switch gears and start talking about me and what I was doing. Well, I don't know how you could do that. Aren't you worried about this? And starting to project all of the fear and insecurity onto me. And I realized like, I can't have that around me. Not in those vulnerable moments. So especially if you're in a vulnerable position, maybe you are taking on a risk. Maybe you are starting a business or starting a new career, or you lost your job. You got to be really careful who you're around and the types of things that they're saying if they're just adding on to your fear and insecurity, because people will project those ideas onto you, and it's up to you to figure out what that boundary is. And maybe it's like you don't need to be spending time with that person right now. So the next one I want to talk about is you can perform a genuine gesture of generosity. So when I'm feeling scarce, perceived or actual, I like to do something generous for someone else. That doesn't mean I have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on someone, or that you have to do some big grand gesture, because it's more about the symbolic gesture that you're offering up. So for me, when I notice that I'm starting to get into scarcity thinking, worried about the future, I start to feel that tightness in my body, in my system, I like to open myself up to the possibility of being generous to someone else. So this has taken on different forms for me over the years. I got into this habit in COVID of getting my nails done, and I've been on this trend. I guess I've been getting my nails done for a few years. And so one thing that I've done before many times is if I'm feeling that way, I'm feeling tight around money, fearful, and I go get my nails done, I leave the woman who does my nails, I leave her a nice tip. Or if I happen to be dining out, I might leave someone a nice tip. It can be anything, just whatever comes to you in the moment, because like I said, a genuine gesture of generosity. So don't force yourself to go do something for somebody, but allow yourself, kind of tell yourself, I'm open to an opportunity to be generous to someone else. This could be you're in the drive-through line at Starbucks and you pay for the person behind you, you pay for their coffee, something like that. This just happened to me a couple weeks ago. I decided on a Saturday, I'm going to go sit at a coffee shop. I'm going to start taking a look at my taxes. And for me, I'm the type of person, I'm still working on this, where sometimes just saying the word taxes, it just gets me a little tight in my body around money. It just is what it is. And so I happened to be going to a coffee shop that day to work on that, start looking at my business expenses last year, all of that. And I'm standing in line at the counter to order. There's a older woman behind me, and she kind of steps up near me to look in the bakery counter. And I see her eyeing the croissants, and I actually was having a taste for a croissant. I wanted a chocolate croissant. She starts talking about how good the croissants are here. And she mentions, I got to move closer to see how much these cost because everything's getting so expensive. And then I hear her mutter to me, oh, I'm not going to get it today. It's too expensive. So I get up to the counter and I order my coffee, my chocolate croissant, and I ask the guy behind the counter, can you please wrap a almond croissant for the lady behind me? And so I turn around and I hand her the brown paper bag with the croissant, and she's so surprised, right? And it just made me so happy, the smile on her face, just feeling like, okay, this woman came here because she loves their almond croissants. That's what she was talking about. And I didn't want to see that woman leave without getting what she wanted. I don't know her financial circumstances. And the thoughts are kind of going through my head. You know, she's older than me. Like, who knows what she's living off of. Like, I'm young, I'm working, I want to do something. And it just came so naturally. It just it was genuine. And I was just so happy to just do some small gesture for someone else. And to see the smile on her face, honestly, it made my day. So sometimes it's not even about how big the gesture is. It's just that it's genuine and it flows naturally, and it's going to brightened someone else's day because clearly she was worried about money, but also it really brightened my attitude and just reminded me how much I have to be grateful for. So the next one I want to talk about is return to your gratitude practice. So I don't know if you currently have a practice around gratitude, but this is one of the practices that I can say has honestly changed my life, but also it has been an anchor, something that I can come back to and ground myself with when I am feeling uncertain, scarcity, not knowing what's going to happen, all of that. I can come back to my gratitude practice. So my gratitude practice is writing down the things that I'm grateful for. I always keep a journal. It's what I do when I have my morning coffee, and I write down I am grateful for. And these will be different every day, but I keep it simple. I don't make it so circumstantial, big things. It's more so the little things that I am so grateful for. I am grateful for a roof over my head. I am grateful for the fact that I'm at peace and I'm safe. I'm grateful for my healthy body. I'm grateful I have food in the fridge. It can be these things because when you start to take note of what you actually have to be grateful for, you will realize things are not as scarce as you think. Especially if I live in the US, if you live in a country where, honestly, I was saying this to someone the other day that I don't really believe there's such a thing as actual poverty in the US. I mean, I remember being a kid and being on government assistance, and yet we could still go somewhere and food would be given to us, right? So that's a different kind of poor to be in a place where you're starving because there isn't enough food. That's why I don't think I've ever been poor in my life, because I always had food to eat. So getting off on a little bit of a tangent there, but my point is that if you write down the things that you're grateful for, you will realize how much you truly have and that you do have enough. You do have enough. So the next one, oh wait, no, I don't want to move on yet. I want to say one other thing about that. It's not just writing the things down, right? It's not a check in the box. It's not like that. It's more so write the things down and allow yourself to feel the overwhelming appreciation for the things that you have. And that's the difference, because when I write it down and it really puts things into perspective when I allow myself to kind of reflect on it. Wow, I have a fridge full of food. Wow, I have heat. Wow, I have a warm bed. Wow, I am safe where I live. And you really allow yourself to experience the appreciation and the emotions of those things. It will snap you out of that scarcity thinking. And you may go back to scarcity thinking, but you can always come back here. And that's why returning to your gratitude practice is an anchor in times of scarcity and uncertainty. Okay, so now moving on. The last one that I want to talk about today is reaffirming your intentions and feeling appreciation for the things that are on the way. So the last one I was talking about gratitude for the things you do have, right? And now we're looking at gratitude and appreciation for the things you want that are on the way. And I realize that depending on where you are in your journey, you may not actually believe these things are on the way, but I do, because I have done the work. I have built the self-belief that I know that every day when I write down my intentions for the future, I know they're coming. I may not know exactly how they're coming or when they're coming, but I know and trust that they are on the way. And so this last one is beautiful because there's so many things that you can be grateful for and appreciative for that maybe aren't in your reality yet, but they're on the way. So you can build some excitement and some positive anticipation and gratitude around the things you want that are coming. So that's where I would write down, reaffirm your intentions, the things you want. Maybe it's around, career, housing situation, relationships, could be anything, could be around your purpose and what you want to contribute in the world, things that are positive and make you feel positive. Write down those intentions, reaffirm them. And the key here is you have to believe that they're on the way. So if you're not at that point yet, you have more work to do on self-belief. But for me, and those of you who have done that work, that brainwashing to self-belief on these things, you can write them down and be grateful for them now because you actually trust and know that they are coming. They are coming in. All right. So those were the 5 strategies I wanted to talk about today. There are many others for abundance, but I could go on and on. Those will probably be other episodes, but these are kind of my go-to strategies for when I'm feeling scarcity and I want to change my state of mind so that I can be more open and have more gratitude and be ready for the positive things that are going to be coming my way. So thanks for joining today, and I'll see you next time.